Purva Mimamsa 4 by 3 by 1 and 4 by 3 by 8 says that the duty of the performer of the yajna is threefold. Number 1, to collect the ingredients of the homa. Number 2, to purify them. And number 3, to consume them in the fire. The ingredients are of 4 kinds: fragrant, sweet, tonic and curative. It is imperative that they should be so prepared and purified as to produce the best results. For instance, in order to prepare good curry, fragrant ghee is poured into a ladle and heated over the fire. And when the smoke begins to rise, the ladle is thrust into the vessel containing the curry. The mouth of the vessel is closed and the curry is stirred about. Then the smoke, like vapor that had risen before, is condensed as fragrant liquid, and mixing with the curry renders it sweet-scented, nutritious and palatable. In a likely manner, the vapors that arise out of yajna removes the impurities of the air and rainwater and thus conduce to the happiness of the whole world. Hence it is said in the Aitriya Brahmana, Yajno api tasye janataye kalpate yatraibham vidvan hota bhavati. The meaning is that a yajna in which a learned man burns the purified ingredients in the fire in the aforesaid manner conduces to the good of all the mankind. A yajna is performed for the benefit of the others, and the object of eulogizing its result is to ward off the evils. Good results flow from a yajna only when it is performed with purified ingredients in a proper manner and by pure and holy men and not by otherwise. We read the Shatpatha Brahmana 5 by 3, which says, Agnirvai dhumo jayate dhumad brahma brad vrishtiragnerva eta jayante tasmadah tapoja iti. That the smoke and the vapor are produced by the fire. When the fire enters into the trees, medicinal herbs and water and other substances, it disintegrates them and separates their juices from them. The juices are then rarefied and ascend to the upper regions borne up by the air. Their liquid particles are termed vapor. Smoke is the name given to a combination of their liquid and the earthly, that is the solid subparticles. When after the ascent of the smoke into the higher regions, a sufficient quantity of watery vapor is collected, clouds begin to form, and from these masses of vapor rain begins to fall. Then the annual plants, barley etc. are produced. From them is produced food, from food produced semen, and from semen the bodies of living beings. For this very reason all these are said to be the progeny of the fire. We read in Taittiriya Upanishad, it says, Tasmadva yetasmadatman akashah sambhutah akashadvayuhu vayoragnihi agnerapah adabhayah pritivi prithivya oshadayah oshadibhayo annam annadretah retasah purushah sava yesha purusho anna rasamayah. How beautifully written. It says, from the Atman, from the Almighty God, sprang the ether, Akasha, from ether air, from air fire, from fire water, from water earth, and from earth herbs, from herbs food, from food seeds, and from seed man. Man thus consists of the essence of the food. Anandavalli, Taittiriya Upanishad 1 by 2. Again, he performed tapas. He means Almighty God performed tapas. Having performed the tapas, he perceived that food as Brahman. For from the food these beings are produced. When born, they live by food, and into the food they enter at the death. Bhrigu 2 by 3. Here food is called Brahman. Brahman means the greatest. The food is called as Brahman because it is the chief cause of continuance of life. Happiness can accrue to the living beings from pure food, pure water and pure air, but not if they are impure. There are two agencies at work for the purification of food, air and water. Number 1 is divine agency and number 2 is human. God has made this fiery orb of the sun and sweet smells and flowers. The sun is constantly engaged in drawing up the juices from all the things in this world. But as sweet smelling and bad smelling particles are mixed up with these juices, the water and the air which come in contact with them are on account of the mixture of sweet and the bad smells. rendered of an indifferent quality in which there are both desirable and undesirable elements. As a result of this, the quality of the plants, food, seed and bodies also which are produced from the falling of rain becomes indifferent. As a consequence of this, strength, intellect, prowess, energy, fortitude, courage and other qualities become of a mediocre type, because it is a philosophical truth that as is the cause, so is the effect. This does not, however, argue a defect in God's creation, for the bad orders and the other nuisances are mostly the creation of humans. He being the author of bad orders and the other nuisances, he means the men. It becomes incumbent on the men to remove them. It is a divine commandment that a man ought to speak the truth and ought not to tell the lies. Whenever transgresses it, becomes a sinner and suffers pain in accordance with the law of Almighty God. Similarly, this commandment also, that many ought to perform the yajna, has been promulgated by Almighty God. Whoever therefore violates it commits the sin, because he omits to do an act which is productive of universal's good. So not doing yajna is a sin considered by Almighty God. He must consequently suffer the pain for this sin. The greater the number of the men and the other animals collected together at one place, the greater is the amount of offensive smell. It cannot be the result of God's creation, because it is the consequence of the crowding together of a greater number of men and other animals for their own pleasure. And hence the stink caused by these animals must be put down to the account of men's pleasure seeking proclivities. In this way, all bad odors which contaminate the air and the rainwater are produced by the agency of the human beings. They alone ought therefore to remove them. Of all the living beings, man alone is able to know the good and evil. Manhood of man consists of the possession of the thinking faculty. Of all the living beings, man alone has been created with a mind, that is, with the capacity of acquiring knowledge. By a peculiar arrangement of the molecules of the organs of the human body, God has made them fit for being used as instruments for acquiring knowledge. Man alone and no other animal therefore is capable of knowing what is right and what is wrong, and of doing righteous and keeping aloof from unrighteous acts. This is the reason why all the men should perform the yajna for the good of all. How beautifully written, I hope you understood. This is taken from the book Rigvedadi Bhashya Bhumika by Maharishi Dayanand Saraswati. Thank you so much. Namaste. Om.